Welcome to a journey into the quietest yet most profound corners of the human mind. In the grand tapestry of human personalities, there exists a rare and deeply intuitive soul, a guiding light for many, often known as the advocate, the counselor, or the mystic. They are the ones who feel the weight of the world, who absorb the unspoken pains of a crowded room, and who pour their hearts into the people they love. They are the emotional anchors in our fast-paced, modern society. But a poignant question arises, one that echoes through the silent hallways of their inner world. What happens when this endless well of empathy finally runs dry? What occurs when this deeply caring soul simply stops caring? Today we are going to explore this quiet storm. We will unravel the intricate and sometimes heartbreaking psychological metamorphosis that takes place when a highly empathetic person reaches their absolute limit and shuts the heavy iron doors of their heart. To understand this transformation, we must first understand the emotional currency of such individuals. Imagine an inner landscape that resembles a lush, vibrant forest, deeply connected and pulsating with life. Every relationship is a tree they water with their own energy. Every sorrow of a friend is a shadow they willingly step into. For a long time, they give freely, believing that their boundless compassion can heal the fractures of the world. However, chronic misunderstanding, repeated betrayals, or the sheer exhaustion of one-sided relationships eventually take their toll. The emotional bank account becomes overdrawn. When this breaking point is reached, the change is not loud. It is not an explosive display of anger. Instead, it is a chilling, silent withdrawal. The first profound shift that observers might notice is a deep, impenetrable emotional detachment. This emotional detachment is often deeply misunderstood by those around them. Friends and family might see a sudden coldness, a lack of the usual radiant warmth that once defined every interaction. Where there was once a deeply engaged listener, leaning in with sparkling eyes, there is now a polite but distant observer. They might retreat from social gatherings, opting to stay home in the quiet comfort of their living room rather than navigating the exhausting dynamics of a dinner party. But this is not an act of malice. It is, at its core, a desperate protective mechanism. It is a psychological shield, forged in the fires of past disappointments. By stepping back, they are creating a safe haven within their own minds, a sanctuary where the chaotic demands of interpersonal relationships cannot reach them. In this sanctuary of solitude, they begin the arduous task of conserving their depleted emotional energy. Think of a smartphone switching to low battery mode, dimming its screen and shutting down background applications just to survive. This withdrawal provides them with the crucial space needed for introspection. They use this silence to reevaluate their boundaries, to understand where their energy bled out so carelessly and to stitch up the unseen wounds. They are not plotting against the world. They are simply trying to remember who they are when they are not busy being everything to everyone else. The warmth has not vanished permanently. It is just being hoarded, kept close to the chest to keep their own core from freezing. As this detachment settles in, it gives way to a second, deeply noticeable characteristic, a complete lack of investment. In the past, this individual would have been the one going the extra mile, remembering birthdays, organizing meaningful gifts, and pouring meticulous care into both their relationships and their personal projects. They were the architects of deep connections. But when the caring stops, a sudden and stark drought of effort begins. The vibrant enthusiasm that once painted their life in bright colors fades to a monochrome gray. Activities, hobbies, and even lifelong dreams that once held profound significance now feel entirely trivial. The canvas of their life, once filled with passionate strokes, is left blank. This lack of investment seeps into the very foundations of their daily existence. Friendships that require maintenance suddenly feel like insurmountable mountains. They no longer feel the urge to send the first text message, to ask how someone's day went, or to mend a fraying bond. Socializing transitions from a source of spiritual nourishment to an exhausting chore. They become aloof, a ghost in the lives of people they once cherished. Similarly, in their professional or creative lives, a profound stagnation takes root. Ambitions that once kept them awake at night with excitement now seem overwhelmingly daunting. They may procrastinate endlessly, paralyzed by a devastating lack of drive. The engine of their passion has simply run out of fuel, leaving them adrift on a quiet, motionless sea. Following this lack of investment, a third and perhaps most heartbreaking phase emerges, the heavy fog of indifference. For a soul whose defining trait is feeling everything deeply, feeling nothing at all is a terrifying paradox. Indifference is the anesthesia they administer to themselves to stop the pain of caring too much. A pervasive apathy begins to coat their thoughts and actions. Conversations that used to spark brilliant philosophical debates now yield only passive nods and brief, non-committal responses. The empathy that once flowed out of them like a river suddenly dries up. When confronted with the struggles of others, they may mentally register the situation, but the emotional resonance is completely gone. They feel a chilling numbness, a void where their compassion used to reside. This existential weariness does not just affect their relationships with others, it turns inward, creating a profound alienation from their own inner world. They look at their own reflections and struggle to recognize the passionate, driven individual they used to be. The deep convictions and moral compass that usually guide their every step now seem distant and inconsequential. It is as if they are watching a movie of their own life, sitting in the back row of a dark theater, entirely disconnected from the protagonist on the screen. This internal numbness is a profound loss. It leaves them grappling with a silent grief, mourning the vibrant, intensely feeling version of themselves that has retreated into the shadows. To navigate this painful internal emptiness, they develop a fourth behavioral pattern, active avoidance. Avoidance becomes their primary survival strategy in a world that still demands their energy. They begin to systematically dodge situations, places, and even people that serve as painful reminders of their past passions or their current emptiness. If a certain coffee shop reminds them of deep, emotional conversations they no longer have the strength to engage in, they will walk 3 blocks out of their way to avoid it. If a specific friend constantly brings drama and demands emotional labor, they will let the phone ring into the void. They become masters of the graceful exit, slipping away before anyone can ask them to carry a burden they are no longer strong enough to bear. This active avoidance is the creation of a physical and mental buffer zone. They retreat to the quiet corners of the world, seeking environments where nothing is asked of them. In these secluded spaces, free from the prying eyes and expectations of society, they can finally exhale. However, this strategy is a double-edged sword. While it provides immediate relief and protects their fragile boundaries, prolonged isolation only deepens their sense of alienation. By avoiding the world, they also avoid the very sparks that might reignite their inner fire. The fortress they built to keep the pain out becomes a prison that keeps the joy from entering, extending their journey through the barren landscape of burnout. As the fortress walls grow thicker, a surprising and contrasting fifth behavior begins to manifest. It is a sudden and sharp increase in irritability. People who are typically known for their boundless patience, their gentle demeanor, and their serene grace suddenly develop an incredibly short fuse. Because their emotional reserves are completely empty, they lose their shock absorbers for the daily bumps of life. Minor inconveniences that they would normally brush off with a smile now trigger immense frustration. A slow internet connection, a sudden change in plans, or a mildly insensitive comment can provoke a visceral reaction of anger. Their nervous system is frayed, leaving them raw and hypersensitive to any additional stress. This irritability is fundamentally a symptom of internal dissonance. Deep down, they are profoundly dissatisfied with their own apathy. They are caught in a painful tug-of-war between the caring, idealistic person they know they truly are, and the numb, detached person they have had to become to survive. This inner tension builds up pressure, which escapes through cracks of impatience and frustration. Furthermore, this sharpness acts as a defensive armor. Subconsciously, they know that if they present themselves as irritable and unapproachable, people will keep their distance. It is a harsh way of enforcing boundaries when they lack the energy to enforce them gently. They lash out at a chaotic world to create an illusion of control within their own spinning universe. Yet beneath the detachment, the lack of effort, the cold indifference, the avoidance, and the sharp irritability, The core of this beautiful soul remains intact. The fire has not been extinguished forever. It has simply been reduced to coals, waiting beneath a layer of ash for the right conditions to burn brightly once again. Healing from this state of profound burnout is a delicate, slow journey. It requires radical self-forgiveness, the rebuilding of extremely firm boundaries, and a safe, quiet space to rediscover their passions without the pressure of external demands. They must learn that it is perfectly acceptable to care for themselves just as fiercely as they once cared for the rest of the world. The human heart is remarkably resilient, and even the most emotionally exhausted individuals can find their way back to the light. By understanding these subtle shifts in behaviors, we can offer them the grace, the space, and the silent support they desperately need during their winter of the soul. Thank you for joining us on this deep exploration of the mind and heart. May your own journey be filled with balance, genuine connections, and the wisdom to protect your own inner peace. Take care of your energy, cherish your quiet moments, and we look forward to sharing more profound stories with you in the future. Until then, be kind to yourselves.